I want to turn a little bit to civilian review and like the police reaction to it, or reaction to any like oversight. So I'm going to use Chicago as an example here. O.W. Wilson took over the Chicago Police Department in 1960. In 61, he created like an internal affairs, not internal affairs, but kind of like an internal affairs oversight, investigate civilian complaints. That office from 61 to 75 was reorganized or renamed 4 times because of misconduct internally and incompetence and public sentiment. And the last one in 75 was called the Office of Professional Standards. And the Office of Professional Standards lasted till 2007. They became more transparent and they would talk a lot more in community meetings and stuff. IPRA was thought to be incompetent in 2016. So they placed it with the Office of Civilian Oversight for Police Accountability, or Citizen Oversight for Police Accountability. I was involved in drafting that legislation. Throughout all those years, if you were to ask the police and the police unions and the police officers, they sustain way too many complaints against officers. And you ask them, how many do they sustain? 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% is the answer you get from all ranks of the department. I'm here to tell you, I've looked at the data. They've never really sustained regularly the numbers anywhere from like 1% to 3 or 4%. The highest it's ever gotten in Chicago was like an 8-month or 10-month period when IPRA had a backlog of sustained cases. It got to almost 10%. But it was only if you looked at the number of cases they had let out of IPRA during that period of time. What do you think is behind the thinking in these departments where they think oversight is so onerous and so hard for them, and so everyone hates them, and the civilians that are investigating them hate them, and everything's all bad and we all hate, and it has no reflection in reality whatsoever when you actually look at the data.
Yeah. I mean, that reminds me of the fact that officers and law enforcement supporters and union reps and defense attorneys say that officers will be bankrupted without qualified immunity.
Yes.
There's no basis for that. And just like there's no basis for the notion that that independent review board sustains 50, 60, 70, 80% of the claims. And it gets me wondering whether the people who are saying this truly know that they are saying things that aren't true, or they're being told things that they believe that are not true. If you tell someone that they're going to be bankrupted from a lawsuit, that's what they're going to believe, and that's what they're going to fear. And they're likely going to trust the person who runs their union or the person who defends them in litigation over a law professor from Los Angeles sitting in her office. And so I appreciate that, but there's simply no evidence to support the other view. And the same is true about IPRA and other kinds of civilian oversight. The thing that I would say about civilian oversight is that I think that there's always this real tension, which is there's an interest in having it be truly independent, but then that conflicts with the need to get information and have some say in what the police are doing. If they, there's always questions about whether the oversight should have subpoena power, whether they should be able to make recommendations about discipline, whether those recommendations, what kind of weight those recommendations carry. And all of that is balancing, how much the agency is inside, how much it's outside, how independent it is, what its budget is. And I think that, there are some examples of those agencies working better than others, but it's just a perpetual dance between these two seemingly incompatible interests. And it's one of those reasons why I think litigation ends up remaining something very important, because it is a source of information that is truly independent. There's no question that a lawyer that taking a deposition is going to try to get all the information that they can out of the arresting officer about what happened in that case. And you just can't be sure that will actually happen whether for lack of motivation or for lack of resources, when you're looking at these independent agencies. I'm not saying they shouldn't exist, but some of these challenges are why I continue to think that litigation is so important.
Thanks for staying with us to the end. If you believe in this work, like this video and subscribe to help us amplify our message. And if you want to be part of the change, check out the links below to support or get involved.